I'm glad you are looking at this video. I wanted to explain how we got here, why we are in the position that we're in. We started out very well. We had some excellent architects that helped us do a charrette and land planning, and we brought in a world-class firm called Mesa that is out of Dallas, and had them write the ordinance to implement what had been decided. All the owners of property in the area and members of the public and interested people got together and made decisions, kind of voted on what they wanted for a downtown, for a town center. And a consensus was brought forward that they wanted something kind of like South Lake Town Center. They wanted a walkable environment that had shopping, restaurants, and that was what kicked all this off. We did have leadership that was smart enough to hire some extremely good talent. Robin McCaffrey was asked to spend some time designing the town. Actually, while he did the ordinance, I hired him to do the town planning. This is the design that he came up with for the entire town, basically taking all the raw land that we had and resolving it all into one design. This is the design he had for essentially the downtown area, my property, including City Hall. He had City Hall inside of a circle, which while the town decided they didn't want to do it, the police department decided that it would be a security issue. It did have a central park that had a green space that tied back to Hickory Creek Boulevard. It would essentially be the extension of Hickory Creek Boulevard. Parking and essentially two great large blocks. Now, this block right here is part of what is now the Leisure Center. And if you look on, let's get this oriented correctly, this plan, Town Hall being right here, the Leisure Center property is right here. And that's kind of why this is pertinent and important. Robin McCaffrey was an excellent architect. He had done work in a number of towns. One was Brownsville. He designed the master plan for the city of Brownsville. Another is Kyle, Texas, a real booming little town right now. That was his master plan. Seguin as well. I've been through that town. He did a beautiful job of designing that town. And he also did downtown Brenham. So he's worked on some excellent Texas cities, designing them, and I really liked that plan. When I remember a meeting where the city leadership at the time and I sat down along with several other witnesses. John Smith was there. He was the mayor at the time. He's now the city manager. And Lynn Clark was there. She was the EDC director at the time, but now she has become mayor. Appointed mayor, I might add. The upshot of the meeting was that there was an out parcel. There was a 5-acre parcel at the south and east corner of Town Hall Road, or that now they call it Ronald Reagan, and Turbyville. And that was kind of right in the corner of the plan, and it needed to be resolved because part of the road was there and part of the town square was on that property. So we cut a deal. I was going to buy the southern side and the town would buy the northern side. We would split the property in half. As it turned out, it was about 60-40. They purchased the larger piece. But I spent a very large amount of money on fulfilling my side of the contract. The reason I did that was because we had made a deal. I shook hands with John Smith and Lynn Clark. The deal was I would spend that amount of money and they would spend their half. The total price was 7 figures. And what I was responsible for doing was putting the deal together, putting together the money to make the purchase. And what they were going to do was, of course, make the purchase, but also pass the zoning that Mesa had developed. Because at this point, it was a year or two after the Mesa had produced the plan, but City Council still hadn't voted on it. And I could not start selling this to developers without resolving the political risk. And the political risk could be resolved by having a mixed-use zoning in place. So that was one of my requirements. The other requirement was the town should pay for the roads because they had county money to do that. So really all they had to do was raise their hand in a vote and then use some of their funds and the county money to put in the roads. And that was the deal. Now, I complied with my part. I went ahead and closed the deal, put up my money, and I'm still in debt on that deal. My income off that property is nowhere near the debt service, so I go deeper and deeper practically every day. But they reneged. They did not pass the zoning I needed. They did not provide a road system through there. At one point, when there was a bond package from Denton County that would pay for it, I went to a city council meeting. All 5 council members voted that was the extension of Hickory Creek Boulevard was the most important thing in the city as far as roadways go. And I had every expectation, since that was the #1 top priority, that some of that bond money would be used on putting in the road. and it didn't. It was spent elsewhere. So 15 years later, a decade and a half later, we have no zoning, no improvements that can be used towards a downtown. And just recently, on the 20th of the month, they all met on the EDC property. Here's a picture of it. And did a groundbreaking for a leisure center. I actually support a leisure center if the EDC wants to, in my mind, squander its land on a park where the downtown should be. I can't, at this point, without being the mayor, I can't say anything about that. I think it's inappropriate. It was told to me by the mayor that the attorneys had approved it because it was sports related, and at some point the pickleball courts will be used in a competition and they can get some lease money out of that. So this is appropriate use for EDC money. For those of you that don't know, EDC stands for Economic Development Corporation. It's a corporation that uses sales tax revenue to spend, they get a share of sales tax revenue, and they can spend that on projects that create economic development use, which I think it's a little controversial to have cities pay for sports stadiums for millionaires and billionaires. I tend to think that as a tool to bring economic growth, it's barely there. I would have to say the economic benefits of pickleball courts is pretty much non-existent. There are no toll gates. There will not be money raised from anything other than a person that wants to rent the entire location for a contest. So it bothers me that this is more important than actually building a downtown. The downtown plan will be blocked because of that improvement. The town's thoroughfare plan calls for the road to turn in that exact same way and come in and hit Ronald Reagan Boulevard. So blocking it completely with pickleball courts does not make a lot of sense to me. And the fact that promises were made, we shook hands on a deal, and they reneged, makes it difficult to believe anything that I'm told. So that's where they are. That's where we are. That's why we're there. I would like to create a downtown area, and time is short. The construction just started last week on a facility that will block the property. And it's a shame because we only have one chance at developing this town. And if we choose incorrectly, all we'll get is apartments and fast food and apparently pickleball. So please vote for me so I can actually bring economic development, jobs, good restaurants, shopping, and what it was that the first comprehensive plan said, which is a live, work, play, walkable environment. Thank you.